So I'm going to start my design by sketching out three of my main bodies here. So this end cap body, this front cap body, and also the base for the frame here as well. And take a look at those three components. Notice that they would all be very good options for a revolve. They're all symmetrical about the revolve axis there. So they would be a good idea to maybe try a revolve for these components. So let's start a new project from scratch here. Okay. And let's say I want to revolve about my green axis there. So I might just jump into my right plane to start. And I'm going to start out my first sketch here. Now, one important thing to note before I get started is for pretty much all of my sketches here, I'll be making use of the grid, snap to grid, and auto constraints. So if I just go down to the bottom right hand corner, I can see my snap sketch to grid and auto constraint options. And I'm going to have both of these turned on for the majority of the sketches I create here. So what these do, the name suggests, it will snap my sketch automatically to my grid point. So let's say if I draw a line here, notice it's kind of jumping or snapping to each grid point here. So I could do 2 or 3 millimeters. And the auto constraint will automatically throw in constraints for my sketches, so I won't have to do it manually. So notice this sketch I've just drawn, this straight line, came in as a horizontal line and came in with that horizontal constraint automatically. So again, you can turn these off if you'd like. This is just my personal preference, but of course you can turn either of these options on or off for your own sketches. One other important thing to note is when drawing with a grid here, the zoom level will actually change my grid sizing, and I can see that up in the top right hand corner here. So notice right now it's showing me that one grid point is 1 millimeter. So if I were to draw a single line, I'm seeing 1 millimeter there, and that's what I'm snapping to my grid there. But notice as I zoom in or out, those grid sizes will change. So now it's 5 millimeters. So if I were to again draw one line, snapping from grid point to grid point, it's coming in as 5 millimeters there. So first I might start my sketch at the origin point there, and this line here is kind of going to be my axis of revolution. If I'd like, of course, I can lock that front point down into the origin there. And I'm also going to give this dimension that I'd like. In this case, maybe I want the total length of my motor to be 300 or so. And now I have this, which I'm going to be using as my axis of revolution when I use my revolve tools. So from here, I can just pretty much start sketching out my main bodies. So I'm going to start on my end cap here. And I'm really just going to start sketching. So I'll throw in a vertical line here. Let's say up about 70 or so. And if I'd like, I can lock that value in. I'm going to say I want it to be exactly 70 millimeters. So just hit the green check with the lock there. And now I see that coming locked in there. Okay. And then maybe I would like an angled line here, and just one more vertical line to finish it off there. I'm going to call this guy 70 as well, so throw in the dimension 70, hit the green check, finish him off there. And then that should pretty much finish it off. Maybe I want to throw in an angle between these two as well, but I know just by the sketch here it should be 135 degrees between these two lines here, but I can lock that in as well. So now my sketch should pretty much be finished off here. Notice that my constraints are automatically coming in as vertical lines, perpendicular, and so on there. And again, I can control that just down here in this bottom right hand corner. And notice I have my auto constraint turned on there. So my lines currently are coming in to be vertical or horizontal automatically. And of course I can turn that on or off if I need to. So from here now, this is just going to be my end cap. So let's say maybe I want to use the offset tool. So I'm going to use offset. So I'm just going to offset each of these lines, let's say 5 millimeters. So something like this. And once I'm happy with that, I can tap the done check. And then maybe I'll just close it off. Okay. Then of course I can clean this up as I may need. So maybe I want to trim away some of these portions here. So just tap on the trim tool here and just trim away whatever lines I might not need. So then eventually I will revolve this sketch about my central axis of revolution. So I'm actually going to continue on here, and right within the same sketch draw in my additional body. So my frame here, maybe I'll start it right about here. Maybe something like that. And maybe I'll give this a length as well. Oh, let's say about 150. Okay, and then I can just close that off as well. And this closed sketch here is what I'm going to be revolving again about that same axis, and that's going to be used to generate my main frame there. Okay. And then finally I might just want to close it off with my end cap. So I'm going to continue make another closed sketch up at the front here. That's going to be my end cap there. And maybe I'll sketch something like this. And let's say something like that. And this kind of general shape will be my end cap. And of course I can finish off with some dimensions there as well. Maybe I'd like this to be 20 or so. 25. So just locking these in with the lock and the green check. And of course you don't need to lock in these dimensions. This is just my own personal preference. And now I have 3 closed sketches that I'll be revolving to generate my front cap, my main frame, and my end cap.